my favorite acronym is KISS. So we've all heard the keep it simple, sweetheart.
Right.
Well, in our world, KISS means keep it separate. Seriously.
Okay.
So I'm talking about everything here. So you want to keep your business dollars separate from your personal dollars. Don't have them playing in the same sandbox because it's all just going to be a big mess. So keep your business and your personal separate and be really, really clear on what's a business expense and what's a personal expense. And that can get a little muddy, especially when you're a mompreneur who's working from home.
Yes.
That can get really muddy.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Mom Does It All. If you're looking for encouragement, empowerment, and uplifting in motherhood and mompreneurship, this is the show for you. I'm your host, Marta Spark, triplet mom, certified success coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Jen Paterson, financial planner and the founder of the Dollar Divas, helping mompreneurs figure out their financial life and improve their relationship with money. We talked about so many different things. You will want to hear her tips, especially to get organized for the new year. Let's get right to it. Hi, Jen. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, I am so excited about. I always say I'm excited about my interviews, obviously, because I only bring amazing people on the show. But this is like hardcore, something that everybody needs because money is hard to manage, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. And I connected with you at the perfect time in my business when things are growing and I need to get so organized. And that was my goal for 2019. So this is it, a gift from me to you, moms that are listening, to learn from Jen to manage your finances, especially if you are numerically challenged or whatever you want to call it, like myself, because that's not my zone of genius at all. So I want you to kind of start telling us how you got into this, because anyone that's interested in numbers fascinates me because I'm not at all. And to me, it's like you have to be talented and gifted to work with something like that. So I want to know about your story in that sense and how you came to be a mompreneur that helps mompreneurs get their financial shiznit together.
Oh man, I love that. I love that you said that. So let's see, my backstory. So I was raised in a household where money was just a part of life. It was not something that was hidden. My parents were always very open about their financial situation. We talked about it at the kitchen table. As children, we kind of weighed in on the decision-making process, and we understood that money meant choice.
Right.
And you couldn't always have everything that you wanted because that just wasn't the way life was. So that put me off on a really, really strong first step in knowing how to manage my money because I got to watch my parents do it.
Yeah.
And so that was fantastic. And also my mom was an accountant and my father was a business owner. Okay. And they worked hand in hand managing the money personally and professionally my whole life. And, as I said before, it was all totally out in the open. And every decision they made, all of the things they had to do to make sure that the business and the personal stuff was running smoothly was all stuff that we as children got to be a part of.
Right.
So that really, really helped, shape my views on money, and it shaped my story on how managing money really works in a marriage and in life. So I also had an aptitude for numbers. Math was my favorite subject in school. I was that dork. I loved math. I loved how clear it was. 1 + 1 was always 2.
Right.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts around it. And I loved that about it. It was so clear and concrete and easy for me to get my head wrapped around. Mm-hmm. And so I thrived in anything numbers. And when I went to university, I gravitated towards economics because, in all honesty, economics was just drawing little doodles. That's all economics was in university, making little doodles. So. At least the way that I saw it. And so that's where I gravitated towards because I was not a paper writer. I could not write an essay to save my life. And I was a really slow reader. So for me, economics was like a breath of fresh air. Mm-hmm. All I had to do was go to the lectures, listen to what the prof had to say. And, it just came very natural to me.
Right.
So beyond that, I went and got a job as a financial planner after I graduated. And it just seemed like a really natural step for me to go from learning about the economy to helping people manage their money. And I've always been fascinated by investing and the stock market, and that was always a really big passion of mine as well. And so I started doing that job. And while I loved working with clients and I loved having that interpersonal connection with them, I found that the whole industry was just really broken because the way that financial planners are compensated is based on commission. So you don't get paid unless you're making sales. And every client doesn't necessarily need to be buying financial products. And so I really had trouble with that disconnect. And over, the course of about 5 years working with a number of different firms, I just found that it just was not sitting well with me. I was struggling with the ethics and sort of the integrity behind what I was doing. So I gave up my licenses and decided to go into business for myself. And I just love working with moms and mompreneurs. I mean, excuse me, I'm a mom myself, and I know that it's a totally different ballgame when you start bringing tiny humans into the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have their own ideas and their own schedules that have nothing to do with the plans that we've made as parents. And so you just have to learn to roll with the punches.
Yes.
And so it's a very unique market, especially when you're dealing with the money, because you have no idea one day to the next what things are going to come up. So helping mompreneurs figure out their financial life so that those things, when they do come out of nowhere, because they're going to, it's not, you can plan for the unexpected, because that's kind of what it's there for. You can manage it a little easier and maybe grow a few less gray hairs.
Yes, I love that. So many awesome points. Like even beginning with when you were talking about how your parents were very open and they were teaching you these skills, whether consciously or not, that helped you eventually. And that's an awesome message for moms to make a point to actually talk about these things with their kids. But that's one thing. If you're not very sure about that area yourself, you're probably not going to talk about it. So let's fix that first, right? And get more comfortable. So you can teach them these skills so that they can be comfortable with their money and not make stupid decisions, which I know everyone does, but, minimize.
Here's the thing with, talking to your kids about money is kids are smart.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're so such clever little things. So even if you're not confident yourself, just open up the conversation with them and hear their wonderful wisdom on the subject. And you'd be surprised what you can probably learn from your kids. And the other thing is when they're that age, it's a fabulous time to let them make those critical mistakes. Let them spend all their money on candy and then have nothing left, and then they learn the lessons when the consequences are really small, as opposed to when they're 30 and they're $50,000 in credit card debt and wondering how they're going to pay their mortgage.
That's a great point. And I love that too, because we can always learn things from kids because their mind is so fresh. They haven't seen most things, so they are not biased in so many ways, and that makes them so simple, which gives us this different perspective that we have lost because we've been around for a while. So I love that idea of then just opening it up to them and being open to learn from them and having them go through these things so that they learn lessons as well before it's more serious. So I love that. That's so awesome. And another thing that you said too is that bringing kids into the world changes a lot of things. And it makes life a lot more unpredictable than before because they have their own plans and because that's just how life happens when you add in another human being.
Totally.
And you can't really never be prepared for when something unexpected happens. But in terms of finances and getting organized, you sort of can. So that's something to really be thinking about, especially as we start this new year, is taking a look at your finances. And I know for entrepreneurs, this is something hard because and I always talk about we have this shiny object syndrome of all of the things that we need to have in our business, right? let's pay this new coach. Let's buy this new training. I need a whole new board to write my calendar on. And then the money starts going and it's like, oh, but it's just $20 here. It's just another $100 there. And I do want you to get into the whole thing of separating things and like your main tips, because so the whole thing, let me just give this little bit of a background that I connected with Jen because she has this program for mompreneurs and she invited me to be a part of it. And I was like, yes, 100%. Tell me where to go and what to do. And one of the first things that she tells us is you got to keep them separated. You got to separate everything. And I love that because if you don't see it, if you don't have access to it, it's harder to spend it. That's just the way it is, right? So I'll let you go ahead and talk about that and like your main tips, because that to me was like, wow, I never looked at it that way. And that's why you need someone that is an expert to help you in that area.
So my favorite acronym is KISS. So we've all heard the keep it simple, sweetheart.
Right.
Well, in our world, KISS means keep it separate. Seriously.
Okay.
So I'm talking about everything here. So you want to keep your business dollars separate from your personal dollars. Don't have them playing in the same sandbox because it's all just going to be a big mess. So keep your business and your personal separate and be really, really clear on what's a business expense and what's a personal expense. And that can get a little muddy, especially when you're a mompreneur who's working from home.
Yes.
That can get really muddy. So really keep it separate bank accounts, separate credit cards, separate filing systems, everything. Just keep it really clear because everything can get really muddy really fast. And then you have to remember, all of those little details. And I'm sorry, I can barely remember my name at the end of the day. So trying to keep track of everything else is just not a realistic possibility.
No.
So that's the first step, is keeping it all separate between personal and business. Now, when you're talking about managing your business money, you really want to keep it separate as well. So as Marta was saying, like you want to make sure that every dollar has a very specific job and you want to keep it in a separate spot to do those jobs. So what I mean by this is having more than one bank account. So many of anybody, all of us, we all think that we go to our bank, we open our checking and we're savings and we're done. And that's all we're supposed to do because that's what everyone else does, right? Well, realistically, you can actually have as many different bank accounts as you like, and they can all have very different jobs. So what I always suggest is you have one central bank account where you deposit all of your money. So any revenue that comes in for your business goes into the central bank account, and then use that as a filtering system to put money into other accounts. So you have one very special account that only pays your paycheck. And you have one special account where you're only putting your tax dollars away because you got to make sure that those are already ready when the tax man comes calling, because guess what? He's coming. You want to have one special bank account where you only pay your expenses out of. So when you go to make a spending decision, all you have to do is look at that account balance and say, yes, I can afford this because I know these dollars are already earmarked for expenses.
Right.
And, having a special bank account, if there's something special you're saving for, maybe you need a new laptop. Maybe you do want to, splurge on a fantastic coach. Put that money aside in a totally separate account so that you're not tempted to spend it on everyday expenses like your web hosting. And I always like to suggest the last account being your growth. So put money in there for opportunities that are coming, but you don't specifically know what they are yet, because when they do come up, you want to be able to take advantage of them. Right. Particularly if you're at, say, a conference and they have a conference special that you can get, a discount if you, buy today. Having that money already set aside, then you can jump on that opportunity and the money's just waiting for you.
Yes.
The decision is easy.
So smart. And I love that. And it's something that I had never heard of. And I imagine most moms listening to us probably haven't either, or thought that it was possible to open multiple bank accounts, even in the same bank. Like I was like, are you serious? But it makes so much sense. And it's just a lot easier to get organized because it is very easy to just spend money that you don't have and go overboard. And one thing that I wanted to ask you personally, but I'm sure this is going to be helpful, is about credit cards. Like, what is your view on that for like the business? Just any advice?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, credit cards, they are such, I always like to call them the silk noose because they feel really, really great until they don't.
That's a great way of explaining it.
Yeah. So when you're dealing with credit cards, it's the same as everything else. You want to keep, again, your personal and your business totally separate. Be very clear on if you're spending business money or personal money. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about managing your credit card, I actually suggest that people start going in and paying off that balance every single week. So as opposed to just waiting till the end of the month and then going, oh my gosh, what did I do? Okay. I did not have that money to spend. Set aside 1 hour a week in your schedule. I'm sure you can carve it out. Mm-hmm. So whether it's after the kids have gone to bed, and, you know, make yourself a nice cup of tea, get a glass of wine, whatever it is that's going to make you feel good. Grab your laptop and sit down and do a financial check-in. So have a look at all your accounts, see where all the money is, and then have a look at your credit card. And check in on that balance and pay it off every single week and make it a habit. You know, as we learn more and more about human nature, the more we learn that habits are the road to success.
Yes.
And so setting these habits that are just going to set you up for success over and over and over again is the only way that you're actually going to make real change in your life.
Right.
If you say to yourself, I'm going to do this, you know, once a month, then realistically something's going to come up. Again, we're moms. Something always comes up. But if you have that weekly ritual of I sit down, I log into my accounts, I know where everything is, I pay off that credit card balance, then you're never going to get into trouble.
Right.
And the other thing is again, coming back to that spending decision thing. If you know, you paid off your credit card balance 3 days ago out of your expense account, you just have to look at that expense account and say, well, I do have the money, or on the flip side, I don't. And it makes those spending decisions instinctual and simple, as opposed to thinking to yourself, well, I did this last week, and then having to remember every single little detail and every transaction we make. It's just not humanly possible.
Right. And I love that so much because I'm a big advocate for manifestation and using affirmations for your finances as well, especially as an entrepreneur. And one thing that I heard recently from a mentor that I really admire that is all about manifestation is that lots of people use that as an excuse to just start spending because they think, oh, the universe is going to take care of it. And she was like, no, that's not how it works.
That's not how things work. No.
So, and that's why I am so happy to get organized with this, because then you have a clearer picture of what's going on in your life, and you can, yes, start visualizing how you want things to be, but you have to be on top of your stuff. So I love the keep it separate.
Seriously?
Okay. Keep it separate. I love that. And the weekly payments to the credit card, and also weekly check-in. So you're supposed to have this overview of all your accounts and everything weekly. That's what you recommend?
Absolutely. I even, coming back to that manifestation thing, when you log into your accounts, people have these very skewed relationships with money. Yeah. And I really believe that if you feel negative towards your money, then your money's going to feel negative towards you, and it's going to flee. As woo-woo as that sounds, it really works that way. So if you log into your accounts and you look at your balances and you just take a minute and feel grateful that you have money in those accounts, they're not negative balances or whatever it is you need to be feeling grateful for. Maybe you are in the negative balance, but it's a lower negative balance than it was last week.
Right.
Feel some gratitude and show your money a little bit of love.
Yeah.
And
ooh, that gives me goosebumps. Your money needs some loving.
You need to love your money, because your money is what is supporting you. It's what's paying your rent or your mortgage. It's what's putting food on your table. It is survival for us humans. And if we constantly feel negative about it, then it's never going to get any better.
No.
So we have to flip the switch, and feel good about where we're at, and doing that weekly check-in really helps with that.
Yes. And it's, again, the whole habit thing, right? Not only to make sure you're on top of stuff, but also to be connected with what's going on. And that's something that I'd also heard, like in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. It's like things that may be blocking you from even making money or from finding clients, or clients reaching out to you, is because your relationship with money is not that great. And you're afraid to even look at your bank account. Like it's a thing, right?
It's a thing.
So being mindful of all of this can be a game changer.
Yeah, people not wanting to open statements. They don't want to look at their accounts. They're scared. They're apprehensive. This is so common. I hear it over and over and over again. And even just taking that simple step of opening up your online banking and looking your bank account balance in the face, just looking at it, that is a huge step towards financial sort of being under control, having your finances supporting you rather than you fighting them all the time.
Right.
And there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh no, it's fallen out of my head now. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Yeah, but I love that, because we were being very like logical and rational in the beginning. And again, that's not my forte. So I had to bring it to the other side of things, but I'm so glad that you're okay with that, because it goes hand in hand with, the energy that we bring into things, or even just looking at your bank account and being grateful for what you have. All of these things come into play, especially as an entrepreneur, because that's the energy that you're putting out there to the people that might want to work with you or not. If you're already in this mindset of scarcity and, I want to spend, but I don't have, or whatever, that's what you're putting out into the world. I truly believe in that. And then that's going to affect your business, whether you realize it or not. So all of these strategies are super, super important. I love it.
Yes. And actually, I do remember what I wanted to mention.
Okay.
It's the things that people say over and over and over again. We become what we think about most of the time. If you can measure it, you can manage it. Whatever it is, however you want to say it, if you pay attention, then that's something that's going to get your attention.
That is
so true. It's going to grow. It's going to, flourish if you pay attention to it. If you totally ignore it, put your head in the sand, guess what's going to get worse?
Right. Oh, yes. That's so powerful, because usually we think, well, I'm not going to be worried that I don't have the money, but that's not the same thing as being on top of it and looking at it, so that, like you said, you're paying attention not to the lack of it, but you're being organized and opening yourself up to receiving even more. So that's why it is important to learn. And from this one person that I was talking about, her name is, her business name is called Manifestation Babe. And she talks all about this, how she was able to make more money with her business because she started studying finances, like everything that you were talking about, investing in whatever, stock market. Don't even get me started on that. Any of it.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. And she was like, well, because she's like big dollar person now, but like things that she never even thought about. But she was like, if you want to be in that position, you're going to have to learn, right? How are you going to be a millionaire if you don't know how to handle stuff? So that's why, Jen, grateful for you, because I need to get organized. I can't just be living in la la land. And because again, if you ignore it, even if it's because you're afraid or because you're not really interested in that, it could come and bite you in the butt. It will.
There's no could. It will.
It will. Yes, definitely. All right. So tell us I think you gave so many tips, and I even feel bad asking you to give a specific tip, but if you have something at the top of your head that you want to just finish off with, like a message for moms to take away from this episode, and then tell us how to reach you and all of the things.
So I think the best tip, if you took nothing else away from this episode, if you totally zoned out and ignored everything I had to say, the one tip is to open up your accounts and have a look and be aware, and just, even if you do nothing else, if you just keep it all in one big account, just open it and know what's in there. And so that you are connected to your money. It's so important to be connected to your money, and knowing where you are is the first step. So, if you, like I said, do nothing else, if you absolutely ignore all my other advice, just open up the online banking. It's so easy now. It's so easy. We can do it at 3:00 in the morning in our sweatpants.
Yes.
Just open it up, have a look, and, feel some gratitude to whatever is in there. And that's going to be, a huge step towards understanding and being connected to your money.
I love that. That's so amazing. I had no idea we were going to take this direction in this interview. So glad, because I am feeling inspired. No, I got this. I can make this work.
Yeah. And it's such a simple step. Like, it's so simple to do, you know. I know I am just as addicted to my smartphone as anyone else. And I open up Instagram almost instantly the minute I open my phone, you know. So one of those times, just grab your phone, open up that online banking app, and just, you know, have a look and feel some gratitude to what's in there.
Yes, feel some gratitude. So important. I love that. Amazing. Thank you. And so how can we reach you? How can we find you on Instagram, obviously, Facebook, all of the things?
Absolutely. So I am the Dollar Diva. So you can find me under Dollar Divas on Instagram and on Facebook. We're on a Facebook page, and then we also have a private Facebook group. So if you just search Dollar Divas, then you'll find us there. You can also find us at our website, which is dollardivas.org.
Okay.
Someone has our .com, and I've been hunting it for years, but unfortunately .org is where we're at. Wow. Or you can always drop me an email. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer any emails. All of them get answered by me personally. So it's jen@dollardivas.org. Feel free to pop me an email if you have any questions or you want to just touch base about what's going on in your life.
Love that. And I love the name Dollar Divas, by the way. That's what we are, right?
We absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again. This was great, as any other conversation that we have. Thanks, Jen.
It was my pleasure. I had so much fun. I love talking about money.
I am so happy you tuned in again today. Don't forget to connect with Jen and get your act together with your finances, especially if you're a mompreneur. She really is great. And let me know if you enjoy expert guests like this. What kind of guests and topics would you like to hear next? Do you have anyone you want to recommend or want to nominate? Let me know. Until next time, bye.